it could be too. See, a lot of times people think feet aren't growing when actually you have capsule wall being added into the capsule up at the top and the back. See, do you understand what I'm saying? Are you there? Hello? Did I
Yeah,
get?
no,
Oh,
I don't understand what you meant. No, I
okay,
don't.
okay. Okay, so like here, well, just a minute here. Let me get back to the page. I was let me put this on our Facebook page. Just a minute. Hold that
And
thought. Hold
just
that.
FYI, I did send you solar views from
Oh,
like
good.
months ago,
Okay, great.
but
Great.
it'll give you something.
Okay. Let's see. I gotta go to the deal here and post that and say, hello, we are having we I used to be able to do live on Facebook as well. Let's see. Hello, we are having hoof chat. Hoof chant. No, we're not into that. Chat. We're having hoof chat, not hoof chant. All right. Let's see. This is science. Okay, so I posted that. Okay, so we're talking here today with Brandy Yeager, and we're looking at her horse's foot. And so Brandy, I'm going to let you introduce this because now that we're recording, I have to explain all that stuff I just explained all over again, which is okay because the more times repetition, because here's the deal. The more you repeat stuff, the more you learn stuff, the more you figure out how to explain it in a better way. And also you start to see if you made any mistakes so you can correct them, because this is absolutely what TACT, the anatomically correct trim, is all about, is about finding where you're wrong so that you can be one step closer to being right, because this is anatomy of the horse's foot, and it is vital that we understand exactly what is going on with these feet. If I was going to have heart surgery, I would want my heart surgeon, my cardiologist, to absolutely understand and know how my heart worked, how my heart was built. I would want him to have as much correct knowledge as possible. If he had one error in his thinking, it could mean my very life. And this is exactly the same for the foot of the horse. No foot, no horse, bottom line. And so their very life is in their feet. And so because the errors for centuries now, 270 years to be almost exact, to when the first vet schools opened up, they have taught nothing but anatomical error. I mean, one error on top of the other. That is why all these horses have so many problems, because of the way they are trimmed and shod according to these beliefs that are incorrect anatomy. So I'm introducing here our video. All right, so what we're going to do today, so Brandy, I'm going to let you introduce this situation that we had been talking about earlier, so people have an idea of where we're coming from and where we're going. Okay.
Okay, this is a 10-year-old warm blood gelding that chronically circles to the left in his paddock in a field. It doesn't matter. He's done it all his life. He is special in that regard. He's been in an in and out situation with the paddock part being crusher. Everything else was mats. And I've since now moved him, it's been almost a month, to a new facility, and he's on softer footing and Matt's as well. He doesn't walk nearly as bad as he used to. Um, uh, Now our weather here, we're in the rainy season, so we have had some moisture all summer. It was complete drought, and his feet were like marble. I have not trimmed or really done anything other than to trim up his frog and keep sort of the bars where they're at. But honestly, I haven't touched his hind feet at all for easily 5 months. Now, since he's moved to this new facility, I have noticed that he's got some quite red bruising, let's say, on the walls of his hooves, especially the hind. And it is just sort of on the left. So on the left hind, it is on the lateral side. On the right hind, it's on the medial side.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just trying to figure out what's happening.
That's really, really interesting that it's on, but it technically, so this is the left foot and it's on the left on both feet. Now, this is really interesting that he's got this bruising on the left on both feet. Since you also said that he's been a perpetual, he only wants to go to the left.
He will go to the right maybe for 2 circles once a week, but otherwise he will just go to the left. 10-meter circles to the left.
That is, and does he walk straight?
He'll walk straight for a little bit,
Oh, okay.
and then and then he will circle to the left. And if he's truly stressed out, then he will do raining circles. And he's 17 too, like he's huge.
Oh, wow. Well,
And
that's interesting.
yeah, sure.
So do you think that some of it might be neurological, or do you think it was something that just had to do with something also that had to do with his feet?
I'm not too sure. He was an embryo transfer, and the recipient mare that he came out of was a neurotic thoroughbred. So I don't know if this had been learnt from the time that he was like basically just a baby. And it's just one of those behavioral things. He's not the brightest bulb in the sky, highly trainable, but not the brightest bulb in the sky. So
Okay.
and it's more stress, let's say, around feeding time. I have known the people that I purchased him from, I worked for them for years. They are consummate horsemen. The horse was never starved, nothing ever wrong. It's just a glitch in his brain.
That's interesting. Huh. Well, poor feller. Okay, so when what happened here earlier was I was explaining the anatomy of the foot, how we have to know the anatomy of the foot. I was explaining why we're seeing this red right here. And so we're just gonna go through all that again. But before I do that, there's something that I wanted to explain to you, because you were saying that when was the last time you trimmed his back feet?
Probably 5 months ago. I did do a little bit yesterday, but I didn't take pictures. But what you're seeing here is basically 5 months ago. I haven't done anything.
Okay, do you have a picture from 5 months ago?
I will have to find it.
Okay. I'm going to let you do that because, okay, so I'm going to explain why a lot of times people think their horse's feet are not growing, but in reality, they are growing. It's just that they're not seeing it in the place that they're used to looking for it. And this happens when you quit trimming down the heels and you're trying to grow the heels. This will happen. People will say, well, my heels aren't growing and stuff. But in reality, the hoof capsule itself is growing. It's just that the growth is not pushing down and out the bottom. Because what happens when you trim the heels on a horse constantly is it starts trimming out the size of the capsule from the rear and making it smaller, and literally trimming capsule wall in the back out and binding the whole foot into a smaller capsule. And so then when you quit trimming the heels, that growth starts staying in the capsule and enlarging the capsule. And as it does so, the inner foot that was compressed and bent down and crammed into the smaller capsule that developed over time is gradually and slowly releasing as growth is added in. See, the growth gets added in up here, up in here. Instead of just coming down out like this and pushing out the bottom, it stays up here, so you don't notice you don't notice the growth, so you don't think that the capsule is growing, is what happens a lot of times. Does that make sense a little bit there? Oh, Brandy must be looking for a picture. So who understands that here? What happens, how these capsules get bigger when we quit trimming the heels out? The very size, the very mass of the capsule itself gets bigger. And then the foot that was all bent and compressed and folded and jammed into that little shoe, it starts releasing and going back to what it was supposed to be.
You can see that if you compare pictures from, let's say, 6 months ago, because I did the same thing, and you're like, oh, pull an old picture up, the same
Yeah.
hook, you know, and then compare, and you can actually see the difference in the back of the foot where the bulbs haven't really risen up, but the back of the foot, the hairline is picked up and there's more hoof back there.
Yeah.
But you have to look at old pictures and new, or you don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
see,
yeah, because these hoof capsules, they get smaller. They just become a smaller version of themselves, you know, like a smaller, like you can have the same exact type of shoe, all right, but in different sizes. It's kind of like that. Only if you look at the foot, because see, here's the thing, you know, in the hoof care world, they've been taught to look from the hairline down right here, thinking this is the horse's foot. But what we do is we look up here at the real part of the foot that you can see. See, this is just the capsule down here that grows from a part of the foot. The rest of the foot extends above here, all into here. All of this is part of the foot itself. And this cartilage back here, I mean, this cartilage is so flexible, it can be completely bent down under or extended back to here. Like, okay, I'm going to show a picture of that. I need to go to my pictures.
Meanwhile, I can see something.
Okay.
There is a white line, a very light white line. I don't know if it is
cutting out again
on the right grass. Can you see it? And the whole area in the heels, there is a small, I don't know, maybe it is hair, a small white line there. Can you see it? On the bar, there is a small white. Everybody, anybody?
You were all garbly. So say again.
Well, I was kind of seeing something I wanted to mention.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't actually think, like, just because we took, like, Linda was late, that's why I started discussing this. Otherwise, I would have taken actually real pictures of his feet, but
Okay. So right here,
Okay.
you see an example of how the cartilage can expand and contract. And even though this is only 3 days apart, this shows you, if you look over here to the picture on the right, this shows you the true size of the actual foot right here. And so if the capsule, if I could have grown the capsule in correctly at the time to fit how much the cartilage had expanded in this experiment I did, this would show you the true foot right here. You see those cartilages back there? That's the real foot. They can literally be bent down even smaller than what you see here. And so what happens is, like, even here, I've been growing heels a long time. You can see how with the release of the cartilage, it just pulled the whole capsule and everything back, pulled the heels back, took the dish out of the dorsal wall. Just, you can see lots of different things that happen from moisture. Now, no telling what we might have seen through the wall when all this happened, with all this movement. So what happens is, like, not necessarily on this foot, because this is just 3 days time, but, and see, this was just pulled up straight. You see the angle of the horn tubules here, literally the whole foot shifted and moved back, horn tubules, everything. But when the heels are trimmed out, and when you have a hairline that's down to here, just a minute here, let me get an annotate and right color. Oh, that'll work. Okay, so when your heels are trimmed out, right here, all this cartilage here has been pulled down like this. And now you got just a little tiny heel here. Okay. And so what happens is, then you quit trimming this down all the time. Well, the growth, even though you initially kept trimming this down like so, and it pulled all this down, and it took this, it reduced the size of the hoof capsule. Just a minute here. Okay, so now you're letting it grow, and you allow this to be longer than the sole here, so that it is bearing weight. Well, it's bearing weight, and so what happens is, as the hoof wall is growing down from up here, what happens is, instead of growing down like this and pushing out past where it can be worn or trimmed off, instead, what happens is the growth, because see this coronary band right here, it's pulled clear down here. It's being forced clear down here. It's under a lot of pressure. It's like if you shoved your nose over to the side of your face, it wants to go back to where it's supposed to. That's why when I did this experiment of releasing the frog and the periopal and keeping a boot on this horse and keeping the foot moist, the whole back of the foot was able to return where it wanted to go to begin with. Because it is like your nose, like here, you just took your nose and you held it over to the side of your face, but then you start letting it up, you give it some relief, it's going to want to go back to where it wants to go, because this is cartilage and fat, just like your nose, only bigger. Well, for some of us. And so this coronary band and all this right here that is now pulled down to here, it is under constant pressure to want to go back to where it's supposed to be. And so you're allowing the growth to stay instead of trimming it off. And so what happens is, this growth that is coming starting here, because this coronary band is here now, see? Instead of pushing down, the growth is staying in this coronary band, and this coronary band is able to rise up, and the growth stays up here, like this. See, that growth stays up here, and it starts adding into the capsule, and it adds in this other piece of capsule wall here. See that? Well, you're used to seeing it down here. You're not looking up here at what's going on up here, because also this starts to expand and go back to where it was as well. It starts to release this. And so you filled in this piece of hoof wall here, but you were always looking for it over here and you didn't see it. It wasn't staying there. And sure, some of it wears off. But what happens is the growth coming down from the coronary band is adding to and allowing the foot to release and get bigger and making the hoof capsule bigger here. Okay, do you understand that now?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
If we go to the photograph.
Okay, I don't want to wait, please. Okay, let us wait for just a minute on that. I don't know what you were talking about before. Okay, but you have to wait, because if when I'm explaining this, we get into too many different areas, then I lose my train of thought and I can't think. Okay, so let's wait a minute so I can find out what you were talking about to begin with, because when I was looking for these photos, I took my earphones off. So I have no idea what you guys were talking about before. Okay, so wait a second. Let me go back to the photograph and then tell me what you were seeing. Can you do it that way? Otherwise, I get confused here.
Yes, of course.
So hold on, just hold on a second. Let's see. Let me get out of here and clear all drawings now that I explained to her what with the question that we had before, and then we go back to that, and then I want to hear what you were talking about. So hold on just a minute here. I can't multitask. I get too confused. So hold on a second. Okay, and I'll get that picture up again. You share. Okay, there we go. Like I didn't hear anything you said before. So now, Angelique, would you continue to point out what you were noticing?
Yes, I was telling that if you look at the picture and enlarge the picture of this hoof, there is a small white line going down from, can you see it? It ends on the,
right here?
On the second piece of grass. Sorry, let me see again.
This
Maybe
piece?
it is a little bit on the right. On the right. No. Go
right
on the right, on the heels. Go to the heels.
Okay.
To the
right
heels. Here? Go to the heels.
Back here?
No. Further to the back. On the further back.
I'm back clear to the heel.
Can you see a small line?
No.
Yes.
Not
there,
sure what.
There is a small line
this
that
right here
shows the tubule. A small, exactly where your test. Yes, there. If you go see that this part of the hoof is bigger, is
okay.
different.
Okay.
is exactly what you were saying.
Okay. Right in
There,
here.
there.
Okay.
This part of the hoof is different.
Okay. So yeah, and see, that's why we were telling her that probably she's seeing growth, that she's not noticing that growth was added in there, but that the foot actually is growing. And so you're looking at
Yes.
this part to show that. And then Brandy, did you get a picture of from before?
Yeah, I sent you a few.
Okay.
But like I just took photos for me, so they're not sort of
That's all right. They don't
good
have to be,
really.
because we're getting, so we can look at these. We already know what's going on, so we can look at them and tell whether it's improved or not. See, um, so they don't have to be perfect. Let me go there, and then we'll take a look and see what we can see. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Got to move some stuff around and go back to, okay. Now, okay, I'm going to go here, and this here, when was this shot taken?
That one. Let me just open. That one. Let me go and find it again. Sorry. Those were. That's in April.
I need to turn my volume down. There we go. Okay, that was in April. And
yeah.
Okay, so let me copy that and enlarge it. Why can't I find it? See, now that foot doesn't look all that bad. I mean, as far as here, but sure has a lot of nasty looking periopal. Well, something's up with the health of that foot. Well, again, look at this area of the foot right here. See the growth rings?
New share, please.
Oh, sorry. There we go. It was like this. And so you can just see these real wavy growth rings. So he's had an issue right in this area anyway. I mean, when you see this periopal here, that's always a sign that something ain't right. When you have this real flaky, weirded out periopal. So, let's see. Let me get that other foot up here again. You know, he is, even if you haven't been trimming him, another thing that might have happened too is he could have grown some and then collapsed forward as well.
Okay.
So that could have happened there too. Just a minute. Let me look at that other picture. I'm going to make it smaller, and I'm going to compare the two. So hold on. And I think his foot has added capsule wall to it. I mean, the angle, we can't see it because you're more to the behind over here, to where you could see this right here. But I do believe that he has added, like what Angelique was seeing here, more hoof wall right in here.
You know, I only work with photos. So the
Yeah.
first glance of me goes exactly at the point. Sorry if I always find something
No,
to the
you don't got
photos
to be
we're
sorry about
looking.
anything. I just was getting confused there.
Sorry, Linda. Sorry, really sorry.
No, you don't have to be
But
sorry about anything, dear.
I just saw the back part of the hoof to be like a bubble. It became
Yeah, well, look at the difference. Look at that little square area there. Well, wait a minute. Let me take a picture of this. Hold on. Hold on, hold on. Yeah, you have added capsule in here. Like what she is seeing.
Super. And I also sent you some photos of what his feet look like when he was shod, which
Okay.
was the reason why I took his shoes off.
Okay. This area right here. Okay, can you see that now?
Yep.
Do I have that on there? This area right here, this piece right here, like look at the difference in the shape
Yep.
here. This has been trying to add capsule wall in up here. And when you get a chance, would you take a picture just a little further back this way
Yes, ma'am.
so that we can take a look at because see, this is from higher up and aiming down like this. And so we can't really see this area right here. But you can
Yep.
look at this foot here and tell that he hasn't got very much foot here. On the old pictures, there isn't a lot of
Yeah.
capsule and you can tell the difference in the periopal. Look, the foot, even with the red, is looking healthier up here. It hasn't got the real, of course it was drier too, but he just looks like he has more foot here in spite of the red and stuff like that. And that's only because this area right here has gotten long and it's jamming up up here. See there? And so chances are that's all that's going on with this foot as well. And because of the of the moisture, then the periopal release, the frog gets softer, the whole foot moves. You know, the thing is that we just usually don't see it this fresh right here. Usually by the time we see it, it's turned kind of a funky brown color. And then we just think it's dirt or mud or whatever. See what I'm saying? Anyway, that's our opinion for right now. What do you think?
I love it. Thank you.
Are
Okay,
you going to redo that drawing that you did originally before you taped?
yeah, we're gonna go back to that. We're gonna go back to that and talk about that because I think that people need to understand that whole complex area of the foot there. But I want to ask Angeliki what she thinks.
Well, there is something else I see now.
Okay.
The first photo, the back photo, has a small hole. Can you see it?
This one back here?
The previous one.
Oh,
there is a small dot.
Oh, just a minute. The one on the left?
The left one.
Okay, a
Yes.
small hole. Where?
Yes, there is a small black point there.
It's a chip, I think, Angelike. That's what you mean. Yeah. No?
Down
well,
here?
I'm not sure if it is a chip. Maybe this hoof had a small abscess that burst on the periopal.
Back here?
Exactly in the middle of the left photo. Not on the heels, on the quarter. Yes, on the heels quarter.
Right above
up there.
Right above the bright white area.
There, exactly there.
Yeah.
So if this horse had a small, very small opening on the periople, on the coronary band, maybe this whole red area is because he pushed the whole area and the abscess blew up. And now that the wall is healthier, you can see it.
Yeah, could be.
Can you follow me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If this small dot is a very small, a very tiny blue out
Are you
of
talking
a
about right
small,
here where I marked it?
yes, yes.
Okay. I'm
Maybe
gonna
this
go
was,
enlarge that and see what it looks like larger. Hold on. Well,
maybe, I
it
don't know. I
enlarges,
cannot,
it doesn't do anything, I can't tell. Because to me it just looks like really cruddy periopal, but I don't know, because you can't make it large enough to tell. But you could be right, there could have been an abscess there or something like that,
that
because
burst into the coronary band and
yeah,
it descended.
could be.
And
Yeah.
maybe this abscess came from he stepped on something that created this abscess, and now you can see the result of it.
Hmm. Well, and you can definitely see that the growth rings are kind of funky and raised right there as well. And so that could have happened, you know. Okay. All right. Well, we won't know for sure, probably, but those are all some things to think about. Either way, something's gone on here. And a lot of times, like I said, we don't see it because it happens and then it turns brown, and in black feed, you hardly ever see it. What you will see though is some real funky looking dry, scaly periopal. And what I see, another thing I see here. All right, and that is, look right here. You see how his well, how the foot here is, how it's kind of bulging like that. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, it doesn't look like he's the same over here. It looks smooth. I mean, it's a different angle. So when you take a picture, let's look at that, because when the feet get trimmed out of these horses and the capsule is smaller and it pulls stuff down, it can make it so that this area bulges instead of looking smooth, like so. So, and now this is interesting, this little area here too. So when you take a picture, and we look at it, like we could look at it next week, take a picture next week. Let's see if that's gone right there. Because if that is gone right there, that means that your capsule did get bigger, the back of the foot relaxed, and the foot was able to set down in the capsule more correctly. Because what happens is when the capsule gets smaller and it's pulling this stuff down and in, even if your cartilage may look, kind of nice and extended there, on the inside, in between the bulbs, look at over here at this foot. You see how sucked in that and hollow that looks right there? See that?
Yep.
Okay, that's not supposed to be that way.
Nope.
So you could have your cartilage right here that is actually pretty good and kind of extended, but the center of the foot where the frog is and everything like that, that can be sucked down and pushed up into the coffin joint right here. And it creates a situation where it's pushing a bunch of anatomy in like that and forcing the foot here to kind of pressure down and bend this way. And that's when you get this funky thing here. Because see, it's supposed to be smooth looking, more like that. More like that. So if, like, say you trimmed the frog and then it got some moisture and it released the frog under here so that this could come back up, then this area would look fuller as well. So probably both feet are the same. I'm judging from looking at that the same thing was going on with this foot here. You know, you got that sucked in area there, because when all is said and done and all of this cartilage is released and all this comes up and you have a hoof capsule that's fitting a foot, this will be very full because it releases where that digital cushion has been sucked in down under so that it can come back up just like your nose to where it's supposed to be. And this area fills in. Does that make sense? Because then your frog corium is able to move back up, and then that frog stay grows up between those bulbs like that and shoves that digital cushion up here. And so the whole area looks full instead of hollow. Like what
That's
you're
what I'm trying to, yep, that's what I'm waiting for. And I'm just like,
Okay.
okay, what am I doing wrong? Or do I just, is it just a matter of time now that I've got some moisture?
It's just a matter of time. And you know, that whole inner foot has to move. The wall has to grow in, the whole frog corium has to move, and then the frog stay in the center has to grow up between the bulbs and push it up. I mean, oh my God. You know, there's a ton of stuff that has to happen. And the thing about it is, you okay, so you said you weren't trimming his feet because they weren't growing, right?
Yep.
Okay, but you know what? If you weren't trimming, actually it was, this part was growing, this in here, but it was adding up into here. But if you weren't trimming the frog, then the frog was just holding all this right there.
And I think that's definitely the case because his frog got insanely ginormous, not in a good way. And it was like marble. And then when I was trying to do it and I was stupid and I didn't like water his foot, is that my knife skipped off his marble frog and I sliced him in the back of the leg. Whoopsie.
Oh yeah, that was you. I remember that story.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and see, here's another thing that happens too. If the whole foot is trying to expand and even that frog corium is moving a little bit and it detaches, then you've got a bunch of dead frog there that's getting harder than a rock. And if it's covered over with any periopal, then that stuff gets harder than hoof wall. And I mean, yeah, so you can go to be trimming those frogs, and then if it slips, you know, you're going to cut your own ligaments or tendons in your hand if you're not careful.
Yep, did that too. 100% did that too. It was insane. And so then I remember the one hoof chat about talking about that, and that's why I was like, oh, well, that's what's going on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, see all these different things. You know, we just keep talking and sooner or later we'll start seeing different things. Like, it is important to see what's going on in the other foot. I can see stuff in this foot that I can't see in this, but I can pretty much guess a lot of times you're going to have the same thing, because people, at least with me, I'm a consistent trimmer. So I will do consistent distortion as well, you know? Okay, so I'm just going to get rid of that. And we're going to go to...
Linda, I've sent you a photograph. If we sometime should talk about these bulges on the coronary band.
Okay.
It's spectacular, this photograph.
Okay.
I mean, I
Let's look
contacted
at
the
it.
owner,
Let's see.
but no chance.
Let's see. Oh, yep. Oh, yep. That's good. Okay. Wait a minute. Oh, well, wait a second. I was looking
No luck
I was
with
looking
this.
at another foot that Brandy sent when the horse was still shot. Oh my goodness. Is this the same foot? Just a minute here.
Yep,
Oh
it
my
certainly
gosh.
is.
Well, yeah, I'd say that he's added some capsule into that. Just a minute, and then I'll look at the one that Angeliki sent. Just God, I'm lost. Okay, where are you, Zoom?
Right now, that horse is the soundest he's been in 2 years. And before, and you'll look at the picture that I'm sure you're going to show, and that he would interfere on his medial side. With this farrier, he interfered at the coronary band or the wall, and it got so bad to a point that he almost went completely through his wall, so I had to keep bell boots on him behind. But with another farrier, the interference happened up in the pastern, which was bizarre.
Well, look at this foot. I mean, it's horrible. This is horrible. Where look his shoe extends back to here, his heels clear over to here. I mean, look at the red. You look at the red underneath it. There. See, but you got mud on there. And well, that is absolutely horrible. I'd say just what he's even got now is 100% better. You know? Oh my God. I mean, who would ever think that a horse, I mean, why would your heel be here? You know, I mean, because you can see this is a pad, but there's no heel under it, right? Am I seeing this right?
Yeah, you are.
That's like nuts. But see, this is what happens, you know, these feet just get so distorted. These farriers don't have a clue of what's even going on. And so they just keep trying to get a shoe. You know, I feel sorry for the farrier. Like, I can understand he's going, what do I do with this foot? You know, very, very, very interesting foot.
Is this the same foot?
Yeah.
Yes.
Look at
that. That was the exact same foot.
Or am I seeing that wrong?
Do
Well,
you
maybe...
see that he's bleeding at the same point?
Yeah, right in here.
Oh, sorry. That one's the right hind because his left hind obviously is in the corner of the picture, but it's the same.
Well, and I was probably
it's
looking
a medial
at
side
the
also.
picture wrong. Because let me tell you, I'm going to tell you what I was seeing because I've seen it before. All right. I'm thinking his foot goes to here and none of that is bearing any weight. Like I have seen horses shod like that before. Nothing like this would just be empty and with a shoe on it like that. But I'm seeing I was probably looking wrong. Doesn't matter though. It's still horrible. Just a minute here. Undo that.
I have the same situation on Paulie, the racing.
Really, his foot goes
horse.
right here. See that mud? It looked like it looked like an empty space. But still, that's horrible. Look at how bull-nosed he is.
There's another picture that I sent you from this is from 2 years ago. Okay. And then there's another picture I sent you from when I just took his shoes off for the last time in February.
Okay.
And how bull-nosed he is there.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay.
And again, I apologize for the quality because this is all for me.
That's okay.
That is the last time he had shoes on.
Okay. And then that's the last time he had shoes on. They were taken off.
Yeah.
Now, which foot is it? When was this one? Same or different?
No, that would have been in April.
Okay. So April. Okay. And that's
April.
And this is just I mean, look here. Look at how those bulbs, yeah, see? You know, I was saying on that foot how it looks so sucked down in here. Well, here you can
Yeah.
really see it, you know. And so you can bet that this is a periopal frog, pretty much. You can bet, because this periopal band is supposed to be clear up behind his foot here. And so this would be, yeah, I mean, he has a lot of this to expand and probably grow in, because when you see also sometimes a heel buttress, well, I don't know about that, never mind. But yeah, like I'm looking at your pictures down here, and you can see how sucked it is, in it is between the cartilages there. So yeah. Okay, now what I was saying in our other deal about how when the wall grows down and it is not connecting in the right spot, you cannot get a clean white line in here. See, before we started recording. Okay, when let's see, did you take a screenshot of that?
Yeah, I was able to take a screenshot before we started recording.
Okay, and before I erased it all. Okay, so oh my goodness. So okay, so
So if you're interested in Linda, I found a picture from Dodo when he was shot the last time from
okay.
2019. It is also the left hind or the right hind, I'm not sure, but it looks closely
Okay, I'm gonna
to
look at
Brandy's hoof.
I'll look at that. I'm gonna look at the one Angelique sent. Gotta find that one. Just a minute here. Oh wow. Yeah, look at that. Oh well, same thing. This horse has similar, like a foot crammed into too small of a capsule. Just a minute. New share. Okay. You see that? That bulge? Oh, he's got bulges on all of them. Just a minute. Well, that only makes sense. You know, you're taking that foot and you're cramming it into a capsule. It's going to start bulging out in places where it shouldn't be bulging out, you know. So look here. Just a minute and I will new share it. Okay, see these feet? Look at that bulge. This capsule is way too small. Look over here. No cartilage at all. So that foot is just crammed into that capsule. And so it's bulging out at the top there. See there? Bulging, huge bulge here, huge bulge here, bulge there. That should be really smooth. See, really smooth there. Not like that at all.
Could that also be ring bone?
It could turn into ring bone maybe, you know, but a lot of it is just the capsule is so small, the foot is compressed in and bulging out the top and the front. See, because it wouldn't be ring bone on all 4 feet, not normally, but ring bone, let's see, you got side bone and ring bone. Well, you know, this is cartilage up here. And so, in my opinion, ring bone and side bone are all caused by the same thing, and that is compression of the cartilages into too small of a capsule to where it's creating this force and friction that turns it into bone. So, well, if we were to look at a foot, see, wait a minute. I just got to remember where inner foot, hold on, H-I. Okay, so hold on, look at one of my feet here. Hold on. New share. Okay, let's look at this. Okay, so here's your inner foot. And there's already a little bit of a lump there anyway. See? Okay, just because of the shape of the inner foot. So imagine now that you're taking all this and you're reducing the size of the capsule up to this much. And so you're pressing this back and this back. You see how that would bulge up over here? It's got to go somewhere. If you're pulling this in and this in into a smaller capsule, all this is going to bulge up and out the top of the front right here. Okay, so now we'll go back and look at the other one. Share, where am I at? Hold on. And okay, new share. Yeah. Okay, so explain. Okay, what am I looking at here now? Is this Dodo? Hello? Anybody there?
Yeah, still
Hello?
there, but
Oh,
try to
okay.
find the unmute button. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, this is Dodo in 2019 in June. Just 2 months before I bought him.
Okay.
It was one of my visits. When I visit him, I saw this hoofs and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, something is
Yeah.
wrong there.
Well, look at
And
all that weird red, looks like dirt or mud, but it's not.
yeah,
It's
I
that
guess
same
it's
damage that we're
it's
seeing.
damaged.
You're just not seeing it fresh, you know, because it turns brown, because it's blood. You know how blood turns crusty brown looking? You know, and so these hooves are way more porous than what we think. And I think that stuff comes to the surface and turns that crusty brown color. That blood, that's what happens to blood. It turns crusty brown, from red to crusty brown. And so
Yeah, it's like it's like when you hammer on your nail and it's turned also brown. First red, then blue, and then brown. So
yeah, same thing. And
makes totally sense.
Yeah, and looking at a normal foot, that a foot is crammed into and forced into this shape, we're looking at internal damage to the foot. You know, and that picture that we looked at, that Angelique shared, well, you can see they're black hooves, so you can't see that. You know, but I would imagine if they were white hooves, that you would be seeing, they would be very brown, you know?
Sorry, guys, but I need to tell this.
Okay.
Elena, give my congratulations to this farrier.
Oh, this one here?
If you know him, tell him that I have a friend that sends you her congratulations on this shoeing. Sorry.
Well,
So, Angelique, this is Simone, and I don't know that farrier, but if I find out the farrier, I will give him the congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. The thing about it is, though, is, man, they're victims. You know, they're doing the best they can with what's in front of them, because if we're going to blame someone, let's blame the vets. Okay? Because it was the vets and the vet schools that screwed up the farriers. All right, now, did anybody see that picture on the Hoof group of that painting from the 1600s. See, Lafosse and the first vet schools in France came out in the late 1700s. Okay. And they come up with that bright idea that horses had to have low heels. It is that causes this distortion to begin with. Before that, all the farriers, everyone, they believed for 2,000 years that horses should have high heels and a high hairline in front and behind. Okay. And so and ever since Lafosse in the vet schools, and then the English vet school followed suit, that horses should have low heels. And one of the reasons that Lafosse said horses should have low heels is because he thought they should have frog pressure. This was the whole belief, frog pressure. And so one of the reasons he thought horses should have frog pressure was for traction on cobblestone streets. See, they would have more traction in the winter and things like that, because he could see that frog was kind of rubbery. So he thought, aha, they're supposed to walk on their frogs so they have traction. Because he got to looking around like, well, dogs' feet, they have a pad. And so he thought, well, horses should be the same. And so it was Lafosse, Philip Lafosse, in the 1750s that come up with this idea. And so it is the vet schools, because before that, the farriers put heels on all the horses. And so I'll show you this picture here that was on, well, let's go to the group here, just a minute. Where am I at and what am I doing? Yeah, so now I don't blame the farriers at all. I blame the veterinary schools and the academics. And ultimately, they're going to be to blame for every problem we have. Okay.
Linda, it's Elena. Can I ask you a question in terms of, like, if we talk about anatomical definitions, in like Hoof schools, when you learn the anatomy, they tell you about the function of each part, right? Yeah. So you should name the function. But in your opinion, then what is the true function of the frog?
The true function of the frog is to support the digital cushion and be part of the suspension system of the whole leg. Okay, the deep digital flexor tendon, okay, comes down and under and attaches up in there into the coffin bone and the navicular bone. And then you have the digital cushion under there, which is composed of fat. And then what supports the digital cushion and keeps it in place up where it's supposed to be is the frog, growing high up between the bulbs. And then, so when the pastern descends, you've seen, how those horses, how the pastern can flat descend clear down to the ground. Yeah. When that pastern descends between the collateral cartilages onto the fat of the digital cushion of the foot. Now this is just the foot. The frog is part of the shoe that supports the foot. A self-grown shoe that supports the foot. And so the frog grows between the bulbs, and under the frog, under the digital cushion, and that pastern descends upon to that digital cushion, and then that digital cushion starts to push down upon that frog. And that frog is designed, first of all, that frog itself has an arch. that when you think about the shape of the frog stay, it is an arch, an upward arch. Arches aren't meant to flatten out. And so it descends onto the arch of that frog, but that frog is designed to give to a certain degree, but it pushes back up the whole time. That digital cushion is being forced down onto that frog. That frog is pushing back up, but it's giving, and in fact, the digital cushion and the frog give constant resistance pushing upward. And so when the digital cushion is being smashed, well, you know how it is when you smash fat, right? It, like, I can push on my gut right here, and it is pushing back on my finger. And as soon as I let up at all, man, it springs right back into place. That's why we wear them girdles and stuff. Okay, so that digital cushion, fat being pushed down, and then it pushes into the frog that is supporting it, and the frog the whole time is pushing back. And so there is this constant resistance pushing back up as it's being compressed down, that is allowing and helping that deep digital flexor tendon to spring back up. It is part of the suspension system of that whole
thing. It's just so fascinating.
Yeah.
And thank you for talking in such a scientific manner, because I think it's so important that we are able to give answers to these questions. That's why, because I know, like, if I talk to veterinarians or if I talk to farriers, I have to provide this detailed and understandable, logical stuff to them, definitions. You have to be able to talk in a scientific manner about things. And maybe also it's a good exercise for everybody, like you were talking about the frog. We need to think how we can find structures in, in man-made world.
Well, like the suspension system on a car.
Example, what structure we can give as an example that works as a frog or similar to that suspensory function, like maybe like a springboard that gymnasts are using. I don't know, like if somebody has ideas, we can share them, like images, I would say. Well, then my last question, and I won't ask more, is
no, that's all right. That's all right.
Have you read anywhere, because you read all these texts, have you come across the definition of the frog stay? Because we talk a lot about it, but how would you describe it as an anatomical part, right?
Well, Bracy Clark named it, called it the frog stay, and he also called it the bolt, because it allows everything to be supported and stay in place in the back of that foot.
But it grows. Is it a structure? Is it a part of the frog which is made of and situated between? That's what I'm trying to get at. Or if there is no definition, can we come up with a definition?
Well, looking at a picture of it, see, it helps to look at a picture of the capsule and the foot independently, to see what that frog stay is, where it is, because you take off the capsule, the frog stay, it's all one unit, and so the frog itself is just part of the capsule, including the frog stay from where it grows between the bulbs. And then being able to see how that foot is made. It's covered with skin. It is a foot. And so we see how that frog supports it. And I got 2 or 3 videos on how that all functions and shows how it functions. Have you watched any of those?
Well, no, I would like to definition, because I will have, there will become the time that I have to define it somehow.
you know, we're still defining stuff, how stuff works. Like Racy Clark named it. I don't think he understood fully how it worked. You know.
So anyhow, if somebody will come up with something or has time to give it some thought and has something to share, maybe then people can share anyway.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry for taking time with all this.
No, don't worry about it. Okay, so somebody shared this last week, this painting. And the second I saw it, I thought this had to have been painted before LaFosse come up with that crap doctrine. Okay, with his teaching of lowering heels. And I want you to just look at the feet on this horse. Look at the heels. See there? Could be all those wild horses' feet we're looking at could be the same. Look, it's not even shod. The horse is not even shod. And this is a Rembrandt painting. This is one of the few Rembrandts that had a horse in it like this, and which is fascinating. You know, look at the rear foot, for crying out loud. You see that? Let's see. Let me get something here. Oh. Okay, so look at the heels on this horse. That's basically, there's the hairline, high in front and high behind. Look at this rear foot. And this is from the 1600s. How about that? Before that doctrine took hold in the 1700s in the vet schools. See, school can be a great thing. It can be a curse as well. Because once these academics get a hold of something and screw it up and then write it in their greater, higher halls of BS, then we get plagued with it until somebody comes along and bucks the system. See? So the beliefs that these bozos came up with in the 1700s when they opened up these schools, we're still plagued with, and these were passed on to the farriers. And when LaFosse came up with this doctrine, the farriers in Paris and in France came out against him. But who won? He did. Why is that? Because they printed it in a book and because the government was backing up these schools. See, that's why we have these problems today. That's why we're sitting here today. If it wasn't for these veterinarians, not that they haven't done a lot of good too, okay, I'll admit that. But once something gets written in the halls of academia, okay, even if it's wrong, man, they hold on to it for dear life because they can't be wrong, you know. So let me undo this here. So I just thought that was absolutely fascinating. There. Let's see here. Let me shut that.
Hello, Linda.
Yeah. Oh, hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Good.
Can I go back to the frogs just a second?
Sure.
Okay. I noticed on my horse as I grew his heels, the frog didn't keep up.
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
Yeah.
So, and initially, and I will send you pictures at some point, but I really do believe that I had the periopal covering his frog, but I've since removed that.
Okay.
Once you grow the heels, where do you want the frogs to end up? I you know, you read a lot of material that you want the frog basically to be just short of the plane if you was level with the heels, but where do they end up from your experience?
Well, let's look at a picture of an inner foot here. Ultimately, well, I can show you where they end up. On a wild foot, they end up way up, way behind. They are actually behind the heels and up between the bulbs, high up between the bulbs. You just
So the frogs do not grow down to be level with the heels?
Well, the frog itself can grow down, you know, it doesn't have to be level with the heels, no, but the placement of it is behind, is vertically or horizontally up high behind the foot and under it as well. But it doesn't have to be all the way to the ground, because the frog spreads and descends to the ground. See, when the horse's foot steps down and the pastern, goes down and onto the digital cushion, and the cushion onto the frog descends, it spreads slightly and descends down to the ground. Like,
right.
like oh, that one guy, that's my favorite guy, that had that hoof lab over there in Michigan, that says you got to lower heels till your frog kisses the ground. No, you don't.
Dr. Balker?
Yeah, that guy.
I read his stuff.
Yeah, that guy. He went to too many barbecues with Strasserites. But anyway, that guy, it's the opposite. Okay, when you have a correct frog, it doesn't have to touch the ground. You don't have to force that, because the frog is designed to descend slightly, and it has to have some room because it's a suspension system.
Okay.
Without that room to suspend, it's like your shocks are bottoming out, you see. And so that frog descends slightly, it spreads apart, it descends, and it descends and it kisses the ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I listened to a biomechanical podcast a couple weeks ago, and basically they were saying the same thing. It's part of the suspension system.
Yeah.
So, all right, that makes sense. I'm good.
Okay, so anyway, so our history lesson for today. Okay, so this is a portrait of Frederick Reichel on horseback in 1663. So that was so cool to see that and go, man, that had to be before 17 whatever, when what's his butt come up with that bright idea, and it's been crippling horses ever since. And so this is a Rembrandt portrait in the National Gallery in London, just sitting there waiting for somebody to look at it and get a clue, so anyway, then I got to thinking, well, to look at other statues and other paintings from that period of time, and sure enough, they all have heels. And of course, Marcus Aurelius on this horse here, one of the few statues that are left, that horse had heels. And when I was looking at this, let me see if I have this. Okay. Just a second. Screen share. Okay, there we go. So when I was looking at this statue of Marcus Aurelius, and I looked at the feet, the heels, they all had really good heels. I was looking at this one back foot, and this last dissection I did was the same back foot that is on this horse, and this horse's heels were just trimmed out a little bit, enough to where it pulled the back of the bulbs and the periopal down, so that when I took the capsule off and I set the foot back in, the foot was able to relax up to where it's supposed to be, and you could see how much was actually pulled down. And I've been looking at this for quite a while, because what it caused these rings, just that foot and the cartilage being pulled down that much and into the wrong place. It had caused these rings in the foot. And so when I was looking at this statue, I noticed the realism of this, whatever horse he was using as a model just happened to have the same exact rings. And I thought that was pretty interesting. Bulges even. Look at that. Doesn't have them on the front here. The front feet didn't have them, but that one foot had that on that area of his foot. Is not that interesting? So, and another reason I think that's interesting is because I saw a popular little gal who's supposed to be a hoof expert, who's trimming the heels out of these horses, and the horse develops these rings, and she comes up with the bright idea that it's neurological. When she's trimming the heels out of these feet, she's ramping the heels and everything else, and she comes with, who the heck does she think she is? She's not even a vet. She's just a trimmer, you know, but she's made a name for herself. And so now, out of the blue, she comes up and tries to say that the rings on this horse's foot that she is trimming are neurological. Are you going to give me a break or what? Now, neurological would be where your horse maybe is wanting to go around to the left constantly. Something happened there. But neurological because it has rings in the hoof capsule. Give me a break, lady. Okay. Meanwhile,
then the whole world is nothing but neurologic horses.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you where the neurological problem is in the brains of some of these people.
Can I just tell you a story about the whole neurological thing? Because my other horse, is, and I've had him, obviously, I've had him looked at by like 7 different vets in the Lower Mainland here, and he does, according to them, he is positive neurologically. Said it was shivers. I contacted the best shivers vet in the States. I sent her a video. She said absolutely does not have shivers, but is neurologic of some part. Now, if he is done just so, all of his body lets down, all the fascia relaxes, and his neurological issues go away.
Oh, isn't that great? See?
Isn't that absolutely fascinating? So it's almost like a sciatica response.
Yeah. Well, that would, pain makes you weird. You know that. When you are in constant pain, you get PTSD. See, you can have emotional PTSD. Okay. Like I have PTSD every time I have to go help my husband do something. All right. Because I know he's probably going to lose it somewhere along the line, get mad at inanimate objects. And so I'm like, oh my God, and stuff. So I get a form of PTSD. I realize that today. Even when he's not, upset, I was so used to him getting upset for years at inanimate objects that then I would start acting weird, And so you can get, if I think I'm going to get hurt, all right, I start reacting and stuff. So these horses, they're used to this. They know this pain's coming, and it can become an emotional thing, a mental thing. Don't you think?
Well, how many horses have been trimmed by farriers and the owners are like, oh my God, my horse is so bad for the farrier.
Yeah.
They won't stand, and then I work on them. They're like, they love you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not doing anything different other than I'm doing a trim that's not hurting him.
Yep.
And I mean, I can't tell you how many people have like, I can't believe my horse is so nice to you when he all but killed the farriers. And I'm like, what happened?
Yeah, exactly.
They know they're going to hurt as soon as it's over.
Yeah. It just makes sense. It just makes sense. It happens all the time. I've seen these gals constantly doing this. My horse is just getting worse and worse for the farrier.
But
You know,
Linda, I just told you a story. You remember I said I helped a girl with her PRE who was constantly developing abscesses, and she called me after we started to apply TACT, and she said she's a different horse. She picks her feet for me before I had to fight with her for every foot.
Wow.
And
See,
she said
that's awesome.
she's changed completely. So she's so grateful, really.
Uh-huh. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
it's a nice story.
That is a great story. Well, you know, these vet schools that were back in the 1700s that opened up had some really bad people making decisions and coming up with doctrines that were incorrect, and they got established as the God's academic truth and then passed back on to the farriers over a generation. And we've had, in one generation, horses went from feet like what you saw in that picture to horses only being able to live about half their lifespan because of what was being done to their feet. So, and then of course the barefoot movement comes along and spreads the doctrine even worse, even further, because now you haven't got a shoe to support the foot and you're trimming them, you know, every 3 weeks and blaming any of the lameness on diet.
Well, a lot of these horses also from the pain have ulcers, and
yep,
they're all on ulcer guard, and they're all on this and all on that.
Yep.
And they're grumpy under saddle, they're grumpy, period. And I'm just like, these horses shouldn't all be in this level of pain. They're like, they're not in pain. I'm like, yeah, they are. Look at their feet.
Yeah.
I said, you clear some of that stuff up, their whole body must hurt.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the stress level that comes with them being in pain, knowing that they're going to constantly be put back in pain every time they're trimmed, you know, that's like, you know, like whenever my dad used to have macular eye injections, he knew it was coming. And I mean, the stress level, and he would make himself ill every time he had to get one of these injections because he knew they were coming. It's the exact same reflex.
Yeah.
You know it's coming, and you know you're going to hurt, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just makes sense that they act like this, you know. And see, here's the thing too. Clear back in 2010 and 11. All right. When I was on, before I had a hoof group or anything, I wound up being on a Yahoo group belonged to Cheryl Henderson, ABC Hoof Care, who does the Strasser trim. And so I just noticed, man, she kept doing these markups where these feet were getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and it was really starting to bug me. And then there were people that were complaining about their horses' behaviors and stuff like that. And then she writes a post telling people how to blindfold their horses, how to talk to their vet to get drugs to drug their horses so that they can get it done, get the trim done. You know, and that was when I was just like, something ain't right.
The racetrack, for the most part, up here, the racetrack, the farriers won't even work on them unless they're drugged.
See, what the heck?
So then what does that, you know, the horse doesn't learn a damn thing when it comes off the track.
Yeah.
They're a nightmare for when the farrier comes. So I've been kicked, I can't tell you how many times, until you finally get these horses to understand that it's going to be different.
Yeah. Yeah, when I went this last year to visit my mom in Phoenix, she's lived on the track her whole life, like literally lived there behind Turf Paradise. She's sold all kinds of vitamin products and different products for horses, and then she's had race horses and been in partners on race horses, and I mean, she knows everybody there. She's lived there now, oh my gosh, 40 years, 45 years she's been there, and everybody knows her. And so she had part ownership in a filly that was there while we were there. And of course, she doesn't believe, she doesn't support me at all. Okay. And anytime I try and talk to her about anything, she don't want to hear it. So that's racehorse people. That's horse people, and a lot of times in general. But anyway, so she had this filly, part ownership in this filly, and we wanted to go there one morning to watch her work and stuff. And so I'm looking at this filly walking away from me. I'm looking at her legs. I'm watching how she swings her front legs out weird, you know. And I look at her feet. I know it's because of her feet, you know. But I try to say something. Yeah, forget it, you know. And anyway, but I try and say it anyway. You know, I was like, hey, well, you know, oh, now, you know, they know what they're doing, and, you know, I can't do anything about it anyway. And I mean, all this stuff. So whatever. So like 2 months later, after I get home, I asked her, I said, so, well, how's your filly? You know, how's she doing? Oh, well, we had to take her off the track. I'm going to have to find her another home. She's just not going to make it as a racehorse. I go, oh, why is that? Oh, well, guess what? She's got a chip in her knee and this and that in the front end. And da 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 da. See, there you go. It was because of her feet, because of what they're doing to her feet. You know, I looked at that. I went, yeah, that horse ain't going to last the way she has to swing her feet out to even land them, you know. So anyway. All right. So look once more at this photo. This is Raphael, 1483 to 1520. Okay. Let me open this up here. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to go into my pictures because I got a better picture. I want to show you these guys. This was really interesting. So this is another, because see, once I saw that painting, I started looking up other older painters, because I have looked up like the Greek statues and stuff like that. And all the Greek, you know, they show the high hairline, the high in front and high behind. But it was this deal here. I got to look it up. Just a minute. Look under. It's painting. Paintings. Okay. Here we go. I hope I put this guy here. Okay. So this is Raphael. Let's a minute. New share. Proportion. This really meant something to me. This proportions. It says Raphael, whatever that, 1483 to 1520, study of one of the Quinarel marble horses. So that must have been done some, even his study of it even before his time. I'll have to look up what those horses were. It says the old masters studied proportions, and it says see his measurements. This huge Roman marble horse, originally situated on the Quaternal Hill in Rome, they were too large to loot, so they left them there. But see, proportions. And so the Greeks, the Romans, all that, they were into proportions. So that again goes back to Xenophon, who was a general in the Greek army before Alexander the Great. Okay, so the proportions, because see, this is what I did when I was barefoot trimming. I took the principles that they gave and I just took the proportions of what they were doing to big horses, and I zeroed it down to my pony's feet. So I trimmed her perfectly according to the proportions they gave. The 1/3, 2/3 balance to the equine foot that is incorrect, things like that. And so here, look at this. Look at the guy's proportions here. just a second. Let me draw on that. Proportions, because again, this goes into what we were talking about at the beginning. So here's the heels. Right here. There's the hairline. So here all together, wait a minute, that'd be the bulb. So here's the heel. And here's the toe. Of course, it's bent, so you can see kind of the back here. But you see the basic proportions of it here. Wait a minute. Let me undo that. That ain't right. Irregardless, you see the heel and the horse that he's got going here. Oh, what am I doing here? Why aren't you? There we go. Here's your heel. And here's your toe. You know, what's the basic proportion? There's always this little triangle here, or rectangle. You see this rectangular area here? Okay, and then do you see the moon sickle here that we were looking at when we first started that we didn't record? And how, you know, your heel that grows down. Okay, here's your coronary band. Your coronary band is behind there, and this is the width of your growth ring right here. And then you'll see these growth rings. Like, okay, you'll see it more than just, like, you'll see more rings in this, but you'll see a more pronounced ring that is the width of this area here, which is where your coronary band lies behind this area right here. And so you'll see the most pronounced sign of the growth ring, the same width as this right here. And then you'll see another one right down to here usually. So 3 of them, and this part grows out first, and then gradually less as it goes up here. But then to get the shape of your foot, of course, you've got this deal right here. Wait a minute. This area on the toe. Let's see here. Wonder if I can move that. Probably not. Anyway, do you see what he's talking about? Proportions. And so we can look at these feet and look for proportions too. Now, the frog on this horse would have been high up in back of the foot like this, and behind the heels. And then internally, you would have seen it like this. Something like that. Not quite like that, but very high frog state up between the bulbs, growing between the bulbs in the center of the foot. Let's see. Where are we at here? Okay. Anyway, I thought that was really, really super interesting. More, see what this is? Evidence. This is what we're gathering. We're gathering evidence because sooner or later, I'm going to be able to put all these pieces together and come up against them. You realize we are fighting a battle here. Okay, so in order to win, we have to have the evidence. Like, I can't just go blowing, which I did once before and got crucified, blowing into David Landeville's Facebook page saying, you know, you're doing that wrong, because you get crucified by his cult followers. So, and the same with the vets, you know, basically it's become a cult that is based not on true science, but on the beliefs that they've had clear back in to when they're just coming out of the dark ages, and these guys come up with these ideas that weren't true. And so these have become like religious beliefs, and these people have become like religious fanatical followers who they don't want to look at anything that is contrary to what the gods of their profession initially put out at the beginning. But see, now we're understanding the history of this and where it comes from. And here we're seeing pictures in time that were before these vet schools ever come out with this junk. We're seeing that the horses had heels. And then we'll see the artwork from the 1750s on to where the heels are being totally trimmed out of them. They have no cartilage. Like if you look at this horse, he had very big cartilages as well. There, I mean, his foot's kind of bent, but you can see it. You can see the exact proportions. And so it was so common to see an actual horse's foot that was correctly proportioned, that he was able to take a random horse of that time and study the proportions of it. And this here is the true foot of the horse. So this was in the 15th, then you see the true foot in the 16th, then you see a dramatic change in the artwork and in the photos. Well, they didn't have photos. You see a dramatic change in how the artist portrayed the feet after Lafosse came out with the whole frog pressure. Because in order to get frog pressure, you have to continually keep trimming the heels down, trimming the heels down, trimming the heels down. So in less than a generation, all of this knowledge of how a horse's foot should really be was lost, and all of the horses were having their heels trimmed out, and their lifespans were being severely cut down to 1/3 of what they should have naturally lived. That's what happened. And so this, now in America, in the West, okay, and in the settling of the West and stuff like that, these beliefs did not take on as strongly in like the pioneers and the settlers and all that, because a lot of those people were still had horses that weren't even shod. And you look at the Remington paintings, the Charlie Russell paintings, you see the cowboys didn't even have shoes on their horses. But you will see that all the army had shoes on their horses, and you will see that they had contracted heels. How weird is this? That we can follow art to see the truth of these matters, and we can use this as documentation for proving our points. See what I mean? Okay, well, anyway. All right, so fascinating. Those that don't learn from history, see what destined to repeat it. Why is that? Because it just keeps perpetuating itself and perpetuating itself. Okie dokie then. Okay,
Linda?
so yeah.
Hello,
Hello.
I am Steffi from Germany. We had
Hi.
contact on Facebook because of the hoofs of my pony.
That's right.
Yes. Do you have time to look at the pictures today?
What I would like to do, okay, is get with you and on a separate, and get with some people that would be interested in that on a separate session, because what is going on with your pony is going to take a lot of explaining.
Mhm.
And we don't have time to do it today.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
So let's see, what is let's after this is over, let's figure out a time, and if anybody would like to be a part of that, they can be a part of that too, but have it be a separate session, because you have some really major issues going on. You have chronic laminitis with rotation, you
Yes.
know, and you've
Mhm.
got the big huge laminar wedges and so much hoof distortion and things like that. So I would rather it be a situation where we could really get into and explain what is happening here.
Mhm.
See, and I couldn't, there's just no way I could change gears right now and go in that direction.
Yes.
I'm sorry, so let's do that. We'll do that sometime this week, though. I can do that this week if you'd like. Okay.
Yeah, that's very nice. Yes, thanks.
Okay. And then
Linda, sorry, why don't you do the next Zoom all about foundering and laminar wedge, so we can all have to follow it.
okay, I will think about that. Okay.
Yeah.
That night might
Thank
not
you.
necessarily be something I want to put on YouTube right now. Okay.
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 Okay, I
Thank you.
see. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So we will get into it and discuss it and then decide and record it. Okay. Because I mean, I've dealt with that situation for a long time, so we'll just talk about it and see. Okay.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome to come. You're welcome to come. I will set up a time that we're going to do this, and we'll have a separate Zoom meeting, and then we'll see how that goes. Okay.
Thank you very much, Linda.
Okay. Hey, well, I'm sorry. I just can't go that direction today.
It's okay. Thank you.
That's a major thing.
Yes,
Okay.
I know. I know.
I know. I'm feeling for you too. Believe you me. So,
Yes,
okay.
I know. Thank you, Linda.
Okay. You're welcome, dear. Okay. So, we're going to take a 15-minute break, and then we're going to go into this whole thing of the pillars that we were doing before on these feet, so that I can try and get you to understand how it is that you're supposed to trim those pillars and all of the distortion that happens and why. And so anyway, so we're going to do that. In fact, I'm even going to drop the YouTube live stream for now and start another one. And what I'm going to do is just try and, as fully as I can, explain how you trim these pillars, why you should trim them. So if somebody wants to be here or they have to go to bed or whatever's going on, you can do that, because this will be a whole separate video on YouTube for people to be able to watch, that we can actually label what it is. Okay.
When you're doing that, real quick, can you think about how the current mapping that we do works into how we should be trimming that area?
Okay. Yes.
You know, that the 2 inches over from the dorsal
Yeah.
wall being 1/4 inch down, is that going to help us with this, or is
Yeah,
the
it
area
can
you're
help
talking
you.
about
It,
even more in depth?
yeah, it can help you, but you have to understand these other aspects of it.
Okay.
Because there's a bunch of detailed parts that you have to understand all in combination together.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just wondering, you know, like, will we eventually be maybe incorporating some things into the mapping that will help us to do those areas better?
Yeah, and I think so.
Okay.
I think
just
so.
a
I
thought.
mean, because see, even me now, I am just glomming onto this. When I'm trimming, I am trying to incorporate all these things into how I'm looking at those pillars. And then
Correct.
remembering too, it's surprising. I found how quickly your horn tubules can just gradually grow forward and get out of place, and you didn't even notice it. Till one day you're looking at a picture and you're going, how'd that get there? It was back here. How'd it get up there? Okay, so we're going to take a 15-minute break, and then I will be back.